It's another beautiful evening. We thank God for the day it is. And we believe that the fact that you can hear this voice, the fact that you can see this image, yeah, at least that is enough to say thank you, Lord, for this day. It is a Thursday and we are here with the Family Hour where we talk about leadership. Today we are back on it and we are still in the early days of 2024. So this is the time to strategize. This is the time to learn from probably the leadership mistakes you had last year. And that is why we are committed to bring you more and more lessons on leadership. As a leader, it is important that you learn the basics of leadership in order to leave a legacy in your leadership. Today, we are looking at the importance of establishing connections in leadership. Now, when we talk about connections, of course, a lot of things come in, and some people attribute it to a particular category of connections. But by the end of this show, we shall know which kind of connections a leader needs, and probably why do you even need connections as a leader? How are these connections important? With us is our very own Dr. Patricia. Dr. Patricia, it's a pleasure having you again.
Thank you very much, Edrine, and good evening, our listeners, our viewers out there. Happy New Year. I hope the Lord has kept you very well and be determined to sail through this year with victory.
Amen.
Thank you.
Amen. Doctor, we are looking at connections. And you know, when you talk about connections, there are things that come up as you talk about connections. Things like Anyakumanyi, things like Mwanawani, things like Twaride. Those things that come up when you talk about connections. But today we want to look at the kind of connections that a leader needs in order to sail through their leadership journey effectively. But just to start with, maybe we can talk about the connections, basically, the term connections and how it is in leadership. Because some leaders think the fact that you're a leader, it is enough. You don't need, that is connection enough, because people will need now to connect with you.
Well, thank you very much, Edwin. As leaders, connection is very, very significant in our lives, because without connection, then who will you be leading? You need to be connected to the people you are leading. You need to be connected to some people to give you wise counsel. So there was a saying that to lead yourself, you use your head. And to lead others, use your heart. So it comes from the heart. Effective leaders know that you can't move people unless you first move them with emotion. You have to touch people. And that touch is what we are referring to as connections here. So when a leader properly connects with people in the leadership journey, you can see it through the functions of the organization.
Okay.
You can see it through their actions. You can see it through the performance. That is why it is said that when a house is clean from inside, it reflects also in the outside.
Exactly.
So the vision of the leader becomes an aspiration of the people, because that leader would have built that strong connection. All great leaders have one thing in common. One thing in common. They connect properly with the people.
Great leaders. I want to emphasize great leaders.
and it's also difficult to connect with people when you have a selfish agenda as a leader. So remember, a leader by nature should be able to connect with the people, and connecting is basically a giving experience. So as leaders, we need to be givers as well through the connection. If you desire to connect with others, check your motives. And there are very, very important guidelines as leaders we need to take note of, especially in examining ourselves. How do we connect with others? In connecting with others, Edrine, it's important to get beyond yourself. Whatever is received more than others in terms of health, in terms of talents, in terms of abilities, in terms of success, is for sharing. And that sharing is what we are referring to here as connection, render sacrifice for gratitude. That is why I'm here. I'm here to share knowledge, experiences.
Exactly.
People who fail to do this are selfish. They're either selfish or also insecure. Leadership is a privilege. Which privilege we need to embrace with our hands and our hearts and be able to share that privilege. Getting beyond self. Secondly, it's important to grow.
Doctor, before we leave that point, getting beyond self, you talked about having everything as not for you alone,
Yes.
but for sharing. And I see a contradiction in this one. People don't want to share their knowledge. We are privileged that we have people like you who are freely willing to share the knowledge, but people don't want to share their knowledge. People are so selfish they don't even want to share how they get to particular levels. What is that? What is the biggest threat? Why do people don't want really to go? Someone was saying that some wise people don't share everything, but what they share makes you think you know everything about them.
Well, the selfish attitude and ego and esteem basically keeps some people off. But when we talk about the mindset change, we then open up. Because remember, God has given us all different talents, and it is very important that we put those talents to use. People out there have different skills and competencies. People have read different courses. People have got different professions and so on. So, like I said, you may have been blessed in the area of knowledge and health,
Yes.
or education, or talents, or abilities and success, and your secrets for success. It is very important that we come out and share that. And I love doing it, especially through the mentorship sessions, through the talks I've had with women, through the secrets of success as a leader. How does a leader propel themselves up to greatness? And those are the connections I am talking about here today. But those who are selfish, remember, when you share, or when I come out and talk about these things, I get wiser. Why? Because I'm able to get feedback, I am able to be sharpened, I'm able to be polished. So it's important for us to get beyond self. Secondly, we are supposed to also be able to grow beyond self. Mahatma Gandhi once made a comment, I think in a book or magazine I read, Mahatma Gandhi. He said the difference between what we do and what we are capable of doing would be enough. It would suffice to make a big solution to the world's problems. The difference between what we do and what we are capable of doing.
Yes.
So what is it that you're doing out there as a leader? And what is it that you're capable of doing? This is basically a call for us to propel ourselves higher and do much more. Because Mahatma Gandhi says the difference would be able to solve the world's greatest problems. There are some leaders who are cocky and unteachable.
Yes.
They miss a great opportunity for growth. But if we are to grow beyond self, we are supposed to have humility. We are supposed to be teachable. In order to grow, we have to be able to tap into the potential from other places in order to grow. So as leaders, we need to get beyond self, grow beyond self, and also give beyond self.
How do you give beyond self?
You realize that some people out there with low self-esteem are most of the time preoccupied with themselves.
Yes.
Me, myself, and I. But people who volunteer their time on regular basis, they heighten their zest for living and even increase on their own life expectancy. Because what are you doing for others? Are you contributing to the welfare of others? To make an impact on your people, you must be a river and not a reservoir. You must be that river that is flowing. And as it flows, fresh water comes in. But if you are the reservoir,
you only
keep. Then what is it that you're contributing to the welfare of the people? So give beyond self, and then also...
And actually, rivers never dry.
They never dry because they keep getting fresh and fresh and fresh waters. So when you are a giver, even the Bible says it, Give, and it will be given to
Yes.
you. Good measure, pressed down, and flowing over. Meaning that when you give, the other blessings are abundant. You will be able to receive much. Just like I tell students at school, when you share knowledge, when you have understood the concepts better than others, and you volunteer to discuss or present, you get more knowledgeable, you get more deeper understanding into certain things. So we need to give beyond self, we need to grow beyond self, we need to get beyond self, and we need to go beyond ourselves.
Okay.
Saying that when you were born, you cried, not so,
Yes.
on arrival on earth.
Yes.
And the world rejoiced.
They say when you don't cry, they even make sure you cry.
They even cause you to cry.
Yes.
When you were born, you cried, the world rejoiced. But when you live your life to its fullest, people get used to you. So that when you go, the world will cry. While for you, you're rejoicing that, I lived my legacy,
Yes.
I completed ABCD. So meaning that leaders who genuinely touch the lives of other people over time can make a big impact beyond themselves. That's what I'm saying, go beyond yourself. And I've attended services, requiem services or memorial services, and you hear what they're saying about this person. Usually they say very, very good things, but there's some people also who have negativity.
True.
Nobody will stand up in church and say this man was a difficult man.
Exactly.
This man was complicated. So we need
it
to
is our
live,
culture. We don't
to
speak
go
bad about
beyond self, and we need to genuinely touch the lives of others so that we make a positive impact. And when connecting with people beyond self is a priority, then going beyond self becomes inevitable. So we need to look at those 4 pointers.
Okay.
The ability to connect is a quality you see in great leaders, like I said in the beginning. Great leaders have ability to connect. If I am a leader, for instance, in the Inspectorate of Government, am I able to connect with the teams I work with, the directors, the managers, the supervisors, and everybody else below me? Or I just stay up there like I have arrived? So it's important to connect. No matter how much talent or skill you possess, if you want to be a better leader, you must connect with people effectively. Do it, and it will raise your level of leadership dramatically. So connecting with people, basically, is a leader's responsibility. Yes.
It is important that you've given us, these are like guidelines, and we want to look at the significance of connections. I know somehow you've talked about it, but we want to give it a broader interpretation when we talk about connections and how really, what is the significance of a leader having this connection whereby even as you go, you've served your tenure and you're going, people have a reason to celebrate you.
Well, it is very important to connect. First of all, connection. A leader who connects with people is like this locomotive. Locomotive connecting train cars so that a big group, a big chain can move together. So when you connect, it's like you're holding one another's hands. Holding one another's hands, strengthening those who are weak, empowering them, equipping them, so that you have a big team. Like when you want to go far, it's important to go as a team.
Yes.
But if you want to go fast, you go alone. But as a team, you realize you can cover a lot. So you have to be hooked up, you have to be backed up, you have to be together in the journey. So leaders who reach out to people and make useful connections, first of all, are able to coach them, they're able to mentor them, they're able to strengthen themselves, even themselves as leaders. Because remember, in connection, you're able to get wise counsel from possibly some elders around who know more than you. But if you propel yourself like someone who knows it all, then you lead to your own downfall. And there are examples in the Bible where King Saul had some of those weaknesses and it led to his downfall. So great leaders reach out to people. Great leaders make connections and empower people. And connection principles are basically very, very important. How do you connect? How do you maintain that connection as a leader? There are certain key principles, because when you move people with emotions first, then they are inclined to you. They will be able to take action They will be able to take instruction. They will be able to move together with you. They will be able to push your journey. When you are open to people's needs as a leader, they will be open to your vision as a leader, because you're open to their needs. You identify with them, you walk the journey with them, and when you take action to meet their needs, they will take action to fulfill your vision as a leader. So if you're a visionary leader, the power of connection is what pushes you forward.
In other words, with connections, you don't struggle a lot in fulfilling the vision.
Yes, and one of the wisest leaders, one of the wisest investments, for instance, a leader can make is in discerning and meeting the needs of the people. If you meet the needs of the people, you're able to connect better with them. If the people have lost relatives, and for you just sit back and wait for their output at work, it will be very difficult to achieve or meet your vision.
We have institutions where people say, "We are not ever fear." In other words, here you don't lose anybody. Whether you've lost someone or not, you're supposed to be around.
Yes, you're supposed to be around, to stand with them, to empathize with them, to support them, and encourage them, and they will feel wanted, loved, needed by the organization.
But Doctor, is it possible to fulfill all people's needs, I mean, in an institution?
Well, it is not possible to fulfill everybody's needs, because they may be wanting a salary increase. Where are you going to get the money to increase everybody's salary? But this power of connections, building that family kind of environment where people love each other, where people can work together in unity, where people understand one another's problems is very important. And when you give your time, when you give first, your people will give back in return. And the paradox of leadership is that you get more by giving more. For instance, when you sacrifice your time, when you sacrifice that little money for contribution towards their problems, when you give counsel and so on, when you give your time, talent, and possession to others, you receive them actually multiplied, like I had quoted earlier on. And when you are willing to make sacrifices for an organization, it gives back even more. Edrine, I can share with you an experience, the sacrifices I used to make. There are times I would sit in the Ministry of Works and Transport up to close to midnight and do this cabinet memo and give it my best shot, because the following day they're supposed to be presenting it in cabinet, and I'm writing this position paper, and I'm developing this policy, and I'm critiquing this contract, and so on. When you give it your best shot, you get back. Because for me, I was shocked beyond reasonable doubt to hear that I had been now appointed as a member of the Uganda Human Rights Commission, and it had overwhelming support. Overwhelming support. But what were they looking at? My outputs, ability to connect with people and work with them very well. And when you connect with individuals, soon you will gain the attention of the crowd. How do we do this? The nature of leadership requires that we often talk to the people. Like this platform you have given me. Speaking to the people, speaking to groups. Effective leaders understand that connection normally happens one-on-one. It happens one-on-one. Even when speaking to a crowd, people are glad to team up with a leader whom they know, whom they respect, whom they trust. So when you reach out to your people, they'll always reach back towards you as a leader. Some leaders are more reactive than proactive.
Yes.
There are those challenges also. But when you have just taken over a leadership position, being connected to people is very vital for success as a leader. Remember, the success of a leader is not personal accomplishment, but it is accomplished through people. Like currently the job I do, it requires that the directors prepare certain reports, keep briefing me in cluster meetings. If I'm having a presentation, they prepare me. So if I don't connect with them, will they be able to do that?
No.
So when you hear that Dr. Patricia is doing very well, there are so many engines behind there who are cooking. We are organizing a field trip, we are doing this program, we are doing this on-spot checks, we are doing this community scorecards. There are people who are really working hard behind the scenes. So that is about the power of connections. So when I appear, people say, "Oh, she knows it all." There are other people who know it, who have helped me.
In the background.
And leaders should be able to embrace that and appreciate and reward those people and acknowledge them for the investment or for their input in helping them perform better. Yes.
Wow, this is so interesting. We want to take a short commercial break, but when we return, we are going to get into now how to initiate these respective connections, because it is important. We've talked about the significance, but then how can you initiate these connections? And a lot more will come shortly after the break. Stick with us.